But nobody really want to hear that argument. They just want to blame their, most hated side. But shout out to my man Noah Joyner, man. What's going on, brother?
Not much. What about you?
Oh man, it's all good. So, what you think about everything so far?
So there's a couple things one thing I really wanted to catch you on, just because you did say capitalism. I believe what you meant to say was corporatism, just based off the fact that, let me get back to that page. Um, it's often the term for big businesses to work with government to control economics.
Yeah.
And the thing for your ICE about the ICE thing, I think the best argument that I've heard so far is some dude on a video told a woman to take her doors off of her house if she was okay with illegal aliens in the country.
I'm sorry, that was actually kind of funny. He's like, yeah, if you're just okay with it, shoot, open borders, open doors, I guess.
Hell yeah.
Like Dems, y'all some pretty, charitable people. So go ahead and open the doors up. When illegal walks through, just hand him a meal and show him to the bedroom. Since that's how y'all feel. But no, I hear you on that one. Oh no, you're definitely right about the corporatism. I guess I didn't use the right word for that one. I like to use crony capitalism. No, corporatism is the best word for it. Is the fact that the business and the government are getting too in line to the point where, well, it's not really helping out us. And some of these guys are getting bailed out through government subsidies, and it keeps them from advancing their industry and coming up with better ways for production. And they just lean on the American dollar, or my bad, lean on them on government subsidies.
Oh yeah.
It's like, so trust me, I don't like it either. And well, yeah, when it comes to ICE, bro, I get so irritated with ICE because one, I feel like Republicans kind of fell for the trap in Minnesota. And I also feel like Democrats, they really just don't give a fuck about immigration at all. They really just don't care.
But we need to find a balance for it.
Yeah, we do. Because what was going on in Minnesota was completely unacceptable. I don't even think it should reach to that point. But I understood how it got there just because I'm like, all right, well, they're not getting any help. And bro, it's kind of crazy how Minnesota officials are literally saying, oh, F ICE, oh, we support their obstruction. We support you guys trailing them. And I'm just like, well, how did you not expect this to get out of hand? You guys are promoting for it to get out of hand. So that's always going to be my argument or my disdain for the left with that one, is that, we're actually trying to help America, but you guys are low key trying to villainize ICE officers. For one, they're not Gestapo, no, but when you guys sit out there and leave them for dead the way you guys do and then paint them as villains when bad stuff happen is atrocious. And you're not being real with the American people. You're honestly just trying to paint these guys as villains when you're honestly putting them in a very effed up situation.
Well, I think you said in a video beforehand, it's Obama did the same thing with ICE and nobody said a word about it.
Yep, exact same thing. And there was people mistakenly getting deported. There was people getting hurt and all this good stuff, but nobody said anything because, well, I guess the phones weren't as popular back then as well either. Like in 08, I think we were still rocking with the flip phones.
Oh yeah.
But all right, though, let's get back into it.
It thumbs its nose at federal court orders, and it brings fear and terror to communities across the country, with American citizens being shot down in cold blood at point blank range in Minnesota.
So he says, listen, the GOP wants money for ICE, no strings attached, no reforms. What reforms? Because we know that there was bipartisan conversation about some things that the administration was willing to do to quell and meet some of those concerns.
Well, first of all, that's just reckless rhetoric coming out of him. People, especially the left, wants to throw down all the time. It's unconstitutional. Well, quote the Constitution. Tell me what it is that the ICE is doing that's unconstitutional, because they're enforcing the laws that, by the way, Congress passed. So if they wanted to make change, Jamie was there underneath the Biden administration. They didn't propose one single change to ICE or the CPB. They didn't propose any immigration reform. They just want to throw out this reckless rhetoric that causes the type of hateful activities we see that even led to another assassination attempt on President Trump just a week ago. And so when you start talking about reforms, I was actually part of those reforms, Shannon. Show us President Trump, that we were really leaning towards the Democrats. We offered them 3 things. They said no, they wanted more. We went all the way up to 9 different reforms. And at the end of the day, this came from Schumer's office himself, said we can't get there because.
Now, actually, I got to give it to them. No, Republicans, they might be giving too much. Because I remember I was pulling up this Newsweek story and it was saying how Republicans are low-key giving ground to this whole Dignity Act, which is basically an amnesty act for undocumented immigrants. So we are kind of giving way on it, and I'm not really sure why we're giving way on like to that degree. I have no idea, but Republicans are getting down with the idea of letting these illegals stay. Like, sadly. But hey, it is what it is. I mean, Drew, no, what you think about that? Like them, like, do you honestly think that we should give any grounds to these guys when it comes to the illegals and just letting them stay?
So I can understand the concept of we need individuals that will want to work and build this country better, but I also understand the facts that if you come into a place illegally, you should get removed from that place.
Yeah. And that's just being fair. That's not like you're not being hateful, racist. It's not coming from a place of hatred. It's just you just want your laws to be followed like everybody else.
I mean, you try going into a different country illegally, look what's going to happen to you. You're going to get sent back to your country, or you're going to be locked in jail and then sent back to your country.
And guys, if you don't believe me, I'll go ahead and show it right here. The Dignity Act, HR 4393, championed by Representative Maria Elvira Saltares, proposed a legal status for undocumented immigrants already in the U.S. without offering a direct path to citizenship, sparking intense GOP debate over whether this constitutes as amnesty. The bill focuses on work permits, border security, and fines rather than mass deportation. Yeah. So we'll make all of them pay a fine, and then we just give them, well, you're a citizen now, or just start handing out work permits and all this good stuff. But Republicans are actually siding with a lot of Democrats on it. Actually, the lady who proposed this is a Republican from Florida, ironically. Like, so, and here's the thing. I think this is like a cause of the war. And this is the reason why I say this, because since it's not working out so well for us, it does seem like more Republicans are jumping ship to save their political stock. Because now they're going to sit there and be like, what you mean? I wasn't on the whole mass immigration slamming down on illegals. No, what you mean? I was actually trying to give amnesty to them. This is why you should still trust the Republican Party, because we're the good ones. And they're going to start separating themselves again like they did with Trump under the first term, was the pro-Trumpers versus the never-Trumpers. Like, and I just see it going in this direction because, well, honestly, this is just how it is when people will start abandoning presidents and start getting into arguments on the other side. But all right, let's get back to Mullin.
Because we're still in primary elections. And it'll give us until after the primaries, which would have been after August. So President Trump and his true leadership, he said,
hey, shout out Sandra Lounge. Appreciate the support. And shout out for being well, let me make sure I got it right here, because it didn't really show me which membership you signed up for, but whatever. I'm just going to shout you out anyway. Appreciate you for joining the membership. You can go ahead and email me to get the invite link to the members only Discord. And if you are a member and you aren't in the members only Discord, just email me. I'll be happy to give you that link.
You know what? We're done. We're not going to negotiate with you. We've been negotiating for 5 weeks with you. We're going to split off, do reconciliation with CPB and ICE, and we're going to fund the other 20 agencies without reforms. And so we're doing what we have to do because President Trump made the play call, knowing good and well what their plan was all along, because Representative Thompson said it. They're willing to shut us down again. So we're going to take CPB, ICE, take it off the table for 3 years, fund the rest of the agency so we can stay mission focused and just forget about the rhetoric and the hateful, ridiculous, really reckless speech that the Democrats continue to spew out of their mouth every single day because they're pandering to the ridiculous left.
Well, there was a chance at reform, and the conversation that was happening, if you get that funding done, we'll see where that conversation goes. Secretary Mullin, thank you for your time. Always good to see you.
Shannon, thanks for having me on.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube.
Let's get into this next major story, which Supreme Court ruling on Well, let's see here. Yep. Supreme Court's ruling sets off gerrymandering scandal. My bad. Not scandal, scramble. Sorry. So let's get right into it, because I remember this being like popping up on the news cycle a couple of days ago, and it was a big deal, but I didn't really read into it too much. So let's get into it.
Today is exactly 6 months until the midterm elections. And with so much at stake for President Trump and the future direction of the United States, what is the likelihood Democrats can win back one, if not both chambers of Congress? We'll break all that down this hour. But given that this past week, there was such huge news impacting the races for the House and the Senate, with a major jolt upending a critical primary and one of the nation's marquee Senate races. And also the Supreme Court blowing up how congressional maps can be drawn, giving a huge boost to the GOP and upending the race for the House, also potentially changing that institution for decades to come. So how will voters respond?
In our favor?
And will Trump drag down his party or be fixated with political retribution at the ballot box, which he is seeking to exact on Republicans beginning in Indiana this week? We have an excellent group of reporters to break all of this down, including NPR's Tamara Keith, CNN's Jeff Zeleny, and Deirdre Walsh from Notice. Good morning to you all. It's great to see you.
Good morning.
Morning.
Jeff, you've been digesting the map of these district lines all week long because it is so significant. It can impact the race for the House. We've been through this gerrymandering war, unprecedented, really. We have not seen this happening in this mid-decade, state-by-state fight that's been going on at the beginning of this cycle since Trump began that fight last year in Texas. You can see on your screen. Republicans right now have an advantage in that ongoing gerrymandering role by about 3 seats. But then the Supreme Court steps in this past week, limits the Voting Rights Act, changes how minority-majority districts lines can be drawn. And now we're seeing several state legislatures trying to help Republicans. You can see on your screen there, these are what we expect. Alabama try to add 2.
That is wild. So pretty much the Supreme Court stepped in and kind of helped us out. So Alabama was able to add 2 seats, Louisiana 2 seats, and Tennessee 1. You know what? I like to see this. I don't want the reality for us to be to lose the midterms, even though it's still a possibility, guys. Don't get it twisted here. Trump can still do a bad enough job to where they can still take the House and the Senate. Well, with this war, that kind of seems to be pushing in that direction. But with this Supreme Court ruling, it does kind of lean us a little bit away from that reality. So I'm actually happy to hear that, believe it or not.
Republican seats. Louisiana tried to add 2 Republican seats. Tennessee 1. That is this year's midterms, just for this year's midterms. Jeff, is that going to be enough for Republicans to stay in power?
Unlikely. I mean, look, the reality is looking at the president's approval rating, looking at just the mood of the economy and other things, I mean, Republicans realize that they are up against some dramatic headwinds. But this is a historic moment here in terms of, the Voting Rights Act. I mean, obviously, it's been a pillar of our country's politics for decades, and all of that has been slowly changing, starting with the Shelby County decision in 2013. But this really effectively dismantled the rest of it. But you only had to look at just the exact moment when the Supreme.
Oh God, do me a favor and double tap that screen, like the video, guys. Let's get more people on the conversation by double tapping that screen and liking the video. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel by hitting that icon above. All right, let's keep it going.
Court was reading this opinion. The Florida House of Representatives was voting on this new map in Florida. So it's effectively taking this tit for tat that we've seen all year long into overdrive or overtime, I guess. And look, the short-term effects for the midterms this year are not going to be that much because many primaries have already happened. The filing deadlines have already happened. But next year, it means that redistricting is going to be an overdrive as well. And not just the southern states that we saw. Democrats are going to respond in kind. So we are going to see this new divide in American politics. But for this year, at least, it is not likely enough to protect the Republicans. And we say that
the one thing, though,
a +5 in Texas. We don't know that Republicans are going to win all.
Yeah, that's up to 5 seats they're trying to get.
Sure.
But also, Democrats could lose this Virginia case. It's before the state Supreme Court there. They're trying to get 4 seats as a result of that ballot referendum that just passed a couple of weeks ago. They could potentially, if they lost that would be a disaster for them. The question, though, is look, there are so few House seats that are truly in play right now. So if you're battling seat by seat, state by state, a couple seats here and a couple seats there could potentially determine the majority.
I mean, it's a paper-thin margin in the House of Representatives. And I think up until right around the time of the Virginia vote, there was among Republicans some redistricting regret, right? Because they saw that vote and they were worried about what you just talked about, this tit for tat, that they started in Texas at the beginning of the year. But I think once the Supreme Court decision came down this week on the Voting Rights Act, Republicans started to feel like, okay, maybe this will be in our favor. But also, we were debating mid-decade redistricting up until the Supreme Court. Now we're looking at biennial redistricting. Redistricting is just here to stay. And I think it's just going to be, a dogfight from here on out. We're going to see court cases just in these states, but now as these special sessions start up in Tennessee.
Which starts tomorrow.
Yeah, it's too much of a tit for tat thing. And I'm be real with you. It's like, it's wrong no matter who does it. I'm be real with you. It's wrong no matter who does it. And there's a lot of cases of gerrymandering that is a disadvantage to Republicans. And well, actually, there's way more cases of gerrymandering that's a disadvantage of to Republicans than Democrats. I'm just gonna keep it real on that note right there. Like, there are states with a lot of Republicans but barely any representatives, or they got Republicans but no Republican representatives, and it just kind of shows like, yeah, isn't that gerrymandering? But they don't want to call it out if it doesn't, actually yeah, go ahead.
The bigger issue with gerrymandering is the fact that we even split ourselves into two parties. I mean, look at what our founding fathers said. They thought that if we split ourselves into the two parties, it'd become factionist. We'd fight over, oh, well, you vote for them. Oh, you vote for them.
Yup. There's really going to be no understanding of the other side. It's just you versus them.
Yeah, and then the fact that the foreign influence that can cause is so awful for our society.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so true. Like, think about it like this. Like, how much money you think China puts into this political dysfunction? Like, they literally pick a side, they choose what side they want to support, put money on that side, and that just gives more political dysfunction because, well, the left is getting money for China, so they're going to start championing immigration more. But the conservatives understand that, this is not helping us out. But the left, they're not seeing that. Well, I would say the leftist elites, they see it, but they're going to report it to their bases that, this is the best thing ever. But they're just getting their money stuffed by Chinese diplomats. So I always do say, you're right. This does lean in. Well, I'm just going to give it to you on this point right here. You're right. This does give leeway for a lot of foreign interference. I mean, shoot, especially when it comes to socialism versus capitalism.
Well, we definitely need someone to come into the presidency that doesn't care which side you vote for. And like I said on previous streams of yours, they should have to broadcast and be like, listen, this is what we're discussing on what to vote for this year or this month.
Like a fireside chat, like what Teddy Roosevelt did.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, true. I'll be okay with that too. I would love that type of openness. In a way, we felt like we were getting that with Trump since he was in the press a lot. But now it just kind of seems like we're just seeing him anytime he just runs to run propaganda for this war. So
the issue with the press versus giving it, and I'm going to say it in the most frank way I can, the common folk, essentially you and I, is that's not giving us the opportunity to actually read what it's saying and go, actually, most of us don't agree with doing this, so kill it. I mean, case in point with Ford passing the patent on the kill switch on them.
Mm-hmm.
If someone gets injured and you need to drive them to the hospital, or say your wife's pregnant and she's about to have a baby, it's going to read you as incapable to drive and not switch from park to drive.
Yeah, which is crazy. And it's crazy how they're really trying to give over our personal decisions over to AI. It's like, you can no longer be trusted to make personal decisions. AI will make it for you no matter the circumstance because you're just not rational enough. And AI is a god of rationality that we will all obey, is what they're really trying to sell to us.
I was about to say, the issue with AI is it doesn't have human emotions to it.
Exactly.
Not unless
it doesn't care.
I was about to say, not unless you're building a bottom-up AI.
No, that's true. But yeah, most AI systems, I mean, they just don't care. They're going for, efficiency. And that's what we built them for. So it does get a bit crazy when we try to put them into systems where we do think there should be more of a human touch to it. Like, I don't know, policing or surveillance and all this good stuff. Like, what was it? They was using some AI company to start doing what, face tracking of people to who to eliminate. I think it was
Ring Doorbell was doing that. They were targeting it towards helping people find their lost animals or elderly people with dementia, so that they could essentially use your Ring camera at any time they wanted to.
You know, so crazy. I mean, shout out to the Ring cameras, but we have seen how they're just another form of surveillance at this point. How it's almost like if you got a Ring camera, if every person on your block or on your little strip of street has a Ring camera, your entire block is now surveilled. It's been surveilled. Anybody can tap.
One of my buddies has got a Ring camera at his house, and as soon as you walk in front of it, he immediately knows you're at his house.
Yep, same here with my parents' house. As soon as you park the car in the front, man, they know you're there. So, and a lot of people in my mom's neighborhood, because you know she lives in a nice little spot, but all of them have the Ring cameras. And I remember when what was it? Somebody crashed into a car, like, you know, doing some drunk driving. They was able to find who exactly did it from like 4 different angles of the guy who did it, because there was 2 houses on the side and the houses from the front and the back that on Ring camera both saw the guy. And it was just like, yep, your whole street is surveillance if you all got Ring cameras.
And there's benefits and consequences to having them. And case in point, like you said, that's a benefit, catching people that do stupid shit like that.
Yeah. But then I think but then if it works against you, I guess that would be the disadvantage. Because I'll be real with you, I actually respect the safety value of it. But it's just that, all right, you know, if we push too far, we're kind of helping this whole surveillance state. And at this point, it kind of looks like we're just getting pushed towards that anyway, because there really is no ramping that back, as I keep seeing.
Yeah. If we get someone into government that just decides to say, fuck all of the government, I'm limiting everything, that's the only way we can do it.
Yeah, and hopefully they don't take that guy out. Because that just sounds like somebody to get taken out. But all right, let's keep it going.
Tomorrow, some of these are starting in Alabama, is starting on tomorrow, Tuesday in Tennessee. So this is going to begin, as you say. I want to ask you about what the Democrats would be pointing to here. Is that, look, yes, the Republicans are coming in here, they're changing the lines in these states, and they can add a couple more seats. But they can't get past Trump's poll numbers, because new poll out from the Washington Post out this morning. This is Trump's approval rating among independents, 25%. That is rock bottom among the critical voting bloc in some of these key swing districts and states. And then the overall generic ballot. The Democrats have an advantage here when 49 to 44%, 5% advantage when the question is asked, who do you prefer to control Congress, Democrat versus Republican? That's up a couple points since earlier this year. So they hope that Trump drags down Republicans enough that they could eke into the majority or maybe get a solid.
Yeah, what they're trying to do is, look, man, they're not trying to win people over here in MAGA. Like, we know that, or even in America First. They're trying to go for the independents. The independents who were like in the middle, who they could have went Kamala or Trump. Those are the guys they're winning over, and they're trying to get their base to double down on their voter turnout because of what's been going on with Trump. Do you understand why the Democrats have done nothing but vilify Trump for the entire year or entirety of last year? Is because they knew midterms were coming up and they wanted to sell this evil villain of a guy, Trump, to their party so they can double their voter turnout. And Trump kind of just helped them do that, was popping off this war with Iran that now not only makes the Democrats want to vote 10 times more, but now swings the independents in their direction. So all of you guys that were trying to shame Republicans by saying, oh, well, you're disagreeing with this war, what are you going to do? Vote Democrat? No. The independents and the Democrats are going to do that for us. And what most of us are going to do is we'll probably still vote Republican, but a lot of us might just bow out and say, well, I can't vote for a party that continuously, lies. That's lying, and that did not do anything they promised they were going to do. You think people are just going to sit around and accept that off the fear-mongering of, oh, but the Dems? But what do you think, Noah?
Well, There's a couple of things that Trump could do to fix the issue, but what I think will happen more than likely with the voters is, and what I'm really hoping for with, which will be that people will come out and go, you know what? They're not going to fix it. I might as well start working on my way to get into there to fix it.
Yeah. Honestly, I think the same thing. At this point, like, we just need to pick a party and invade at this point. Pick a party, invade that party, and it's our party now. I thought we were doing that with Trump, but apparently we need to get some young blood in there. Because at this point, I don't think our generation is ever going to trust the older generation after this.
Well, the issue with the older generation would be the fact that they aren't in touch with the younger generations and what their struggles are.
Yeah, at all. And I think you kind of see that from some people in the chat, because it usually be the older generation that kind of be telling the younger generation to shut up and accept the higher prices. You're kind of just looking at them like, look, bro, it's not that I'm being lazy. I'm just accepting the reality that, yo, you're talking from a perspective where things were cheaper on you. You were able to get a house and other assets cheaper at my age than I was. So it is kind of crazy to hear the older generation come up and try to call the younger generation lazy and, oh, y'all just not working hard enough, when no, I see y'all busting y'all ass. I see the younger generation really do putting in work out there, and just to sit there and say, oh, they're all being lazy, it does irritate me a bit, because it's not all of them. Actually, I would say majority of this younger generation is actually trying, but they're kind of getting crushed by the increasing of pricing. And this is what we voted Trump in for, to bring that down, to bring our dollar back up and to increase buying power. When that's not happening, you can't get mad when the younger generation is turning away from him, especially when all bets were on him.
That's true.
A majority.
Right. And the fact that there's so much fighting over district lines up right this close to people voting, Louisiana having to move back congressional primaries, that just gives you a sense of how intense this is. But right, the president's approval rating is in the basement. He has broken through below where we thought his floor was. And just drive by a gas station and you'll know why. It was very clear that President Trump started the war in Iran, went into this war, and a lot of voters, initially his voters, were willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, to say he's got a plan, these gas prices are going to come down quickly. He's been saying the war is ending any minute now for more than a month. Meanwhile, every time people drive by a gas station, and you drive by several a day generally, the prices are up. It's over $4 a gallon. It's something like $4.35.
Man, $4.35, bro. It's $4.89 here in Ohio. Well, in
fucking
Columbus.
$4.79 in Illinois.
Whew. And that's what I'm saying. It's just like, see, I just expect us to sit here. The thing is, it was like, what, maybe like $4.20 a couple days ago, and now we're already at almost $5. That's that's like a 30-40 cent increase in less than like a couple days.
And Trump could easily fix this by, like I said, going to the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, collecting all the plastic. If you don't want to go that far, just go around the fucking country, collect all the plastic waste that we have in landfills that are just littered across the roads.
But that's that corporatism. That's a corporatism you're talking about, that's stopping that. Because look, I always do say, you know, we could have had unlimited energy if it just wasn't for this corporatism that we live under. Because of this corporatism, trust me, we have technology for water engines, carbonated engines, things to just make life way better. And you use gas way less. But we don't want that, because these corporations want to make money. It's like when the wood corporations made marijuana illegal, they didn't do it because it was bad for you. They did it because hemp was too much of a competition. So, and that's the reason why we're dealing with this today, is pretty much what you're talking about. It's like, yeah, we could do that, but these energy companies are going to look at us like, no, we can't do that, because it's going to run us out of business. And that's what people are going to start doing. They start recycling plastics and turn it into oil. And then what? We can't sit there and lie to them about scarcity no more.
I mean, there's a dude on YouTube that's doing it right now. I do not remember his name exactly. Something Lab, and he goes and gathers plastic and melts it down, turns it into crude oil, then refines it to a better oil.
Here's the problem. If everybody was doing that, bro, they would make that illegal probably within a couple of months. If everybody was starting to do that, I think they'd probably make that action illegal, which is
Just
a
have to
scary
have some.
reality.
Yeah, but till we get a president that's willing to say, if you want to try to kill me, you better do it on my terms.
Agreed.
For the national average right now for a gallon of regular. That is tough. And whether those people are so mad they're going to vote for Democrats is one thing. Whether they're so mad they just stay home is something entirely different. And in these midterms, we already know that Democrats have the energy advantage.
Yeah, and that poll confirms that as well. As we've seen so many data points to suggest that, including the poll said that the Democrats' advantage grows to 9 points among those who are absolutely certain to vote. So Democrats would be happy to see that. But the impacts on the Supreme Court ruling could impact how many districts they can actually pick up this cycle, whether they can have to defend some new districts, and also what will happen, as Jeff noted, in the future. Look at the current congressional map. When you look at the map of the South, there are 37 Democratic seats to 94 Republican seats. Expect in 2028 when they come in here, and that could be just a sea of red there, Jeff.
It absolutely could. And that is why we are going to see really a generational and just a foundational change in the House of Representatives. And what we're not showing there, the North is going to, and the West is going to respond in kind. Like Illinois, for example, could be all blue. New York could be all blue. California could be all blue. So what it means overall is more division, more polarization. Gerrymandering is something that neither party likes, but both parties are willing to jump right into it because it has become just a race to the bottom. But I think that the Supreme Court decision is something probably the biggest case of the year in terms of the overall ramifications for our politics. So again, I think short-term, long-term, and the long-term effects, to your point, every 2 years now, it's going to be redrawing and redrawing.
Very quickly.
And it also puts a highlight on governor's races and state Senate races, state house races, because, you know, these are the people that are going to be deciding these maps in Colorado and New York and Illinois. And it'll be very important who's running the state.
And those very states are the ones that Hakeem Jeffries is pointing to deal with in the 2028 cycle. He's not talking about 2026 or 2028. The question will be, how does this ruling impact 2026? Of course, 6 months away today.
All right, now let's go ahead and get into the next video here with John Bolton. U.S. has not finished the job in Iran. Well, let's get into it. Let's get into one of our favorite war hawks here, John Bolton. I think it was Trump's ex-national security advisor. Did terrible at that.
Okay. John Bolton, he served as national security advisor to President Trump in his first term, and he was ambassador to the United Nations for President George W. Bush, and he joins us now. Okay, Ambassador, who is going to blink first here? How does this finish?
Well, it's anybody's guess at this point. I think the United States holds a great advantage here, but it hasn't finished the job that was started. My definition of finishing the job is ousting the regime in Tehran, but there are steps less than that Trump could take, and I'm a little surprised that he hasn't done it. For example, if he were to use military force to open the Strait of Hormuz, which does not involve going back to the kinds of attacks we saw 3 or 4 weeks ago, if he could do that but keep the blockade on Iranian oil shipments, that would continue to put a huge financial squeeze on Iran, but would get a lot of much needed oil out of.
But there's no way Iran was going to accept that. Like, so they were going to allow us to blockade their ships while all the other ships make it through. Yeah, that just wasn't going to happen. They'd rather just shut it down for everybody. Nobody gets through. Actually, the only ship that was able to get through was a Chinese one. And that's because they have a special deal with, the administration. As long as they don't give weapons to China, they can go ahead and get whatever oil they need. And then we got the problem of the Iranian shadow fleets and how 15 of them made it through the blockade. So the problem is, one, the blockade is not as successful as we want it to be. And then two, I'm not even really sure this is hurting Iran the way we want it to either. And then let's not forget that this is also hurting our allies as well. Like, we're just leaving that conveniently out of the equation here, like, of what's really going on. But hey, I'm just going to tell y'all what's really going on when it comes to this naval blockade and how is not really within our interests. Because like I said, Strait of Hormuz is still closed. That now Iran's economy is hurting, but not as much as you think, because they can still export oil through the Caspian Sea and railways that go through Kazakhstan all the way out to China. So those are two ways that they can go ahead and get their oil off. But you know who can't do that? UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Oman. Yeah, they're kind of stuck.
Gulf and into international markets. I think that is certainly something he can do to up the pressure, keep things moving, and avoid having to make some of the choices he clearly doesn't want to make and shouldn't have to make.
Okay, did you see this report in The Atlantic about Vice President Vance pressing the Pentagon over potentially lowballing the depletion of the munition stocks and pushing that inside the administration? How deep is the deficit here? How concerned are you, or should we be, about the U.S. munitions situation?
Well, I don't think it's an imminent concern, but the big picture is absolutely right. 4 decades, really, 3.5 decades, I'll be specific, since the collapse of the Soviet Union, we have dramatically underspent on defense budgets. And it's come home to roost in a number of ways, one of which is the depletion of our arsenals, both because of aid to Ukraine and the current war, but mostly because our estimates of the rate of expenditure of missiles and ammunition in conflict turned out to be well below what has actually been happening in Ukraine and in the war with Iran. So we need a huge increase in the defense budget. Trump has proposed that for the next fiscal year. We need a lot of things, but mostly we need to get the arsenals back up. I don't think this issue, which is a serious issue in the long term, will or should affect Trump's decision making in the here and now.
Okay, what about termination? No offense to attorneys, but it sounds kind of like a lawyer's trick, right? When the president says that we've terminated this and so we don't have to do the 60-day thing. One of the reasons I'm guessing that the Pentagon, that we haven't seen a supplemental defense appropriation to get those munition stockpiles back up, is that the administration doesn't want to have this fight in Congress. You have been to these kinds of...
I mean, yeah, it would be a fight, because that's what was it? It was the, dang, it's the CSIS. Let me make sure I got the name right. I always forget the name, though. CSIS, and this is the guys that pretty much reported that we were running low on missiles. And it's called the Center for Strategic and International Studies. They're the guys who pretty much saying that we're low on these missiles, and they're saying this not, to throw shade on our military, but they're saying this to get the Pentagon to put in more orders to these weapon companies for more Patriot missiles, THAAD missiles, interceptor missiles, which I believe are also Patriot missiles. So sorry about that. But this is where this information is coming from. And like John Bolton said, is these guys are pretty much telling these guys, look, we're running low on this, and it's going to take this long to rebuild our stockpile, and we might as well get started now. And this is what the Center of Strategic and International Studies is pretty much selling to the Pentagon for them to ask Congress for more money to build these weapons that we need to replenish on. And this has been reported for a while now. We're running low on munitions because of our help to Ukraine, really. Like, let's be real. And of course us giving out weapons to our NATO allies.
Rodeos before. What is going to happen when Congress comes back? Do you think that the Republican naysayers will say nay, or how do you see the authorization piece playing out when Congress comes back?
I don't see it having any effect. Remember, the War Powers Act was passed in 1973 at probably the weakest point of executive power, certainly in the 20th century, maybe in our history, the depths of Nixon's problems over Watergate. So it's been in effect over 50 years. It has never once stopped a war. I think it's unconstitutional. I think that remains the position of the Justice Department. So I think it's a distraction, frankly. If a majority of Congress does not want this war to continue, it has a perfectly good way of handling it, and that's cutting off appropriations, cutting off funding for the war. And if they want to speak up, that's the way to do it.
Okay. Ambassador, we really appreciate you this Sunday. Have a great day.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation app right now on your phone.
All right, though. All right. Let's go ahead and get into the next video, guys, here. Oh, like I said, make sure to double tap that screen and like the video as we keep going through the news as it pops up. All right, let's see. Let's get into Jesse Waters here. Do need to finish this video real quick.
is using AI to hunt down Iranian mines. The president says it's basically already over.
The blockade has been unbelievable, powerful, 100%. It's been actually unbelievable. If we left right now, we had a great victory, but we're not doing that.
The Pentagon says the blockade's already cost the Iranians $5 billion. And inflation is so high, it'd make Biden blush. If you want to block a cheese in Iran, you have to be a millionaire. It costs 7 million rial just to buy some smoked Gouda.
Hold on, guys. We got some bit of breaking news coming out here. Let's
We
get
want to
straight
get
to it.
to some breaking news from President Trump putting this out on Truth Social, announcing that the U.S. will help to escort ships from all over the world that are stuck in the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump put this out on Truth Social in the last few minutes, saying countries from all over the world, almost all of which are not involved in the Middle Eastern dispute going on so visibly and violently for all to see, have asked the United States if we could help free up their ships, which are locked up in the Strait of Hormuz, on something which they have absolutely nothing to do with. They are merely neutral and innocent bystanders. For the good of Iran, the Middle East, and the United States, we have told these countries that we will guide their ships safely out of these restricted waterways so that they can freely and ably get on with their business. Again, these are ships from areas of the world that are not in any way involved with that which is currently taking place in the Middle East. I have told my representatives to inform them that we will use best efforts to get their ships and crews safely out of the strait.
I'm sorry, but that is a really big bill right there. So how are you going to coordinate these guys through the strait when Iran has, like I said, the kamikaze drone boats? They have their drones that could fly in, missiles they could fly into the strait to start attacking these vessels. And they've shown that they're able to attack these vessels at will. So how are you going to coordinate through the Strait of Hormuz without Iran opening the Strait of Hormuz? That's one of the main problems here. It's like, bro, when they say we were about to start giving out insurance, we were going to cover the insurance and we were going to start transporting, or my bad, but start, leading these ships through. Did we ever start doing that? No, because we realized how bad of an idea it was. Now it seems like we're trying to pick up that same bad idea and commit to it.
Cases, they said they will not be returning until the area becomes safe for navigation and everything else. This process, Project Freedom, will begin Monday morning, Middle East time. I'm fully aware that my representatives are having very positive discussions with the country of Iran, and that these discussions could lead to something very positive for all. The ship movement is merely meant to free up people, companies, and countries that have done absolutely nothing wrong. They are victims of circumstance. This is a humanitarian gesture on behalf of the United States, Middle Eastern countries, but in particular, the country of Iran. Many of these ships are running low on food and everything else necessary for large-scale crews to stay on board in a healthy and sanitary manner. I think it would go a long way in showing a goodwill on behalf of all of those who have been fighting so strenuously over the last number of months. If in any way this humanitarian process is interfered with,